Welcome. Wow, folks, those New York Yankees are on the brink of elimination, getting absolutely pummeled by the Blue Jays. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. I mean, the Yankees, they're that organization that you want to root for, right? Right? Nah, not really. Not really. Unless you're an arrogant Yankee fan. But besides that, I gotta say, I don't want to see the Yankees win. I really don't. They are down 0-2, and they are one game away from getting knocked out, swept away by the Toronto Blue Jays, and they're going to be joining the New York Mets on the sideline right now. I think the Mets right now have gotten over it. The Mets have turned a page. The Mets are making moves to gear forward. But I'll tell you this right now. I will tell you this. Max Fried, their big pivot move, gets pummeled. You got to love it. You got to freaking love it. Toronto Blue Jays give you all the credit in the world, making the little Yankees look even smaller. Even smaller. Yankees had trouble scoring most of the game. Their top ace gets pummeled. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And you know what? I normally wouldn't really be talking about this that much. We'll get into some game details. We're going to talk about some center field options for the Mets later in the video. But I wouldn't be talking about it. But there was such a glee last week. Such a glee when the New York Mets were kicked to the side. Like, everybody was waiting for the whole season for the New York Mets to get knocked out. And, I did a video on Michael Kay, and he specifically said, I take glee in the pains of the Mets fan. He specified what Mets fans, but he basically took glee. But that was representative of a lot of Yankee fans. And, the New York Yankees, what they did with their media, they did a hype video, a promotional video, and they included Juan Soto striking out, and Cody Bellinger getting a hit. Everything was great last week. Everything was good. Mets got knocked out. You're in the playoffs. And the thing is, this is a great opportunity for the Yankees because the AL is just very freaking weak. It's weak. It's a weak league. And you're probably not even going to get an opportunity to advance. Very, very sad. All right, I'm telling you this right now. Right now, all that stuff that the Yankees pulled last week, all that stuff is in the back of the mind of a guy like Steve Cohen. Because although he is not like Steinbrenner, this guy is the boss of New York. And I'll tell you this, Cody Bellinger, if Steve Cohen wants him, he's coming to New York, just like Juan Soto. So enjoy it. Enjoy it right now. Enjoy it. I hope you advance. I hope you do, because it's really gonna be the same thing like happened last year. And you know what? We're gonna talk about later in the video a couple of center field options. But like I said, Steve Cohen is not gonna forget this. The Yankees, their front office, literally went out of their way to put that promotional video out and insult the Mets. Meanwhile, a couple years ago, Steve Cohen could have went out after Aaron Judge, probably could have got him, but out of courtesy, out of respect, he did not even attempt to make an offer. Not even attempt to make an offer. And Steve Cohen has stayed pretty disciplined with, not doing anything to, bother the Yankees. But not no more. Not no more. The Yankees reveled in what the Mets had to go through. All right, folks, let's get this video started off right. Like the video, subscribe. Let me know how you're feeling. I want to talk about this game really quick because, I'm watching the playoffs and, this game with the Yankees and the Blue Jays, I'm pretty impressed with the Blue Jays. I got to say, the Yankees were literally no hit into the sixth inning, and clearly they pitched worse than they batted. Max Fried, the final line on the 8-year, $220 million man was he pitched 3 innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 2 walks. And I said it last year when the New York Mets potentially could have went after Max that, he had great regular season numbers, but he's tended to struggle a bit more in the postseason. And you see it right now. Fried gave up 7 runs in 3 innings, and Will Warren gave up 6 runs in 4 innings. So Fried did horrible. Warren did just as bad. And, the Yankees, I'm telling you, not very good at all. Not very good. Not very good. And so far in the series, they're basically being pummelled. They've been in the series outscored 23-8. 23-8. The Yankees really they got to win this game. They got to win this game, and they got to win 3 games in a row. Obviously, it feels like the world's caving in, according to Mr. Aaron Boone. You lose 2 games like that, and they're in their building, and it doesn't go right. But all of a sudden, you got to go out there and win a bowl game on Tuesday. The needle can change. So that was the positive advice of a guy like Aaron Boone. But you know what? It's really not going to be easy. I mean, the Yankees struggle against a rookie pitcher, right? You don't really expect that. And then you don't really expect their Cy Young or their ace, their so-called ace, to get pummeled. I mean, that really takes a team out of it mentally. That was a gut punch. That was a gut punch how the Toronto Blue Jays won. I know the Yankees tried to score a couple of runs in the 6th and the 7th, but it was just far from over. I mean, it was well over at that time. So the Blue Jays, they did good against the Shitler splitter. Trey Yasavage. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that. That is the young Blue Jays pitcher who just looked dominant against the Yankees. He went 5 1/3 innings, 4th career start. Look at 4th career start. He struck out 11 out of the 18 Yankees he faced. When Yasavage was removed, the Blue Jays were up 12-0. Again, the Yankees tried to come back, but again, it was just way too many runs. And then Boone goes after the game. He goes, "We haven't lost any confidence." But honestly, if you get beat like that, you gotta be honest with yourself. I mean, you gotta lose some bit of confidence. You gotta lose some bit of confidence. And then Boone goes on to say, obviously, they've had our number, without a doubt, and they've gotten better as the year went on, but I don't think anyone in our room doesn't feel like we can go out and beat them. Honestly, folks, I think this series is over. I would be 100. I mean, you obviously got Kyle Tucker, but, is he going to be a guy that you're going to get after giving already $800 million to Juan Soto? It kind of looks like that's going to be highly unlikely, in my opinion. So, a Bellinger is that guy that I think makes a lot of sense. He really does. He fits with the Mets' need. He fits the time. He's right in the good meat part of his career. He's 30 years old. And he's like that guy. He's that player that can play in New York. A lot of good things about Bellinger. A lot of good things about Bellinger. So, that's going to be on the table. That is certainly going to be on the table. And that's one of the moves that I'm looking forward to. I would like to see Bellinger. He's got a pretty high ceiling. We've seen Bellinger, do, kind of what he wants. If he wants to hit home runs, if he wants to hit more of an average, he's going to command a premium, high AAV multiple years, but the Mets have the money. He's durable, he's been durable the last couple of years. All right, so Stephen Kwan, might he be a better fit? Now, Stephen Kwan is a very different player. He's a contact guy, high on base, gold glove caliber. He's won a couple gold gloves, and, he's a guy that, you have a bit of cost control. He's not going to be a free agent until 2028. And the component is you would have to trade for him. The rumor was that he was being shopped, at the deadline. But, the Cleveland Guardians, they were looking to be blown away. They kind of wanted to see what his value was. So, again, if you want him, you're not going to get the power numbers. You're not going to get the slug numbers. You're going to get elite defense. You're going to get contact. You're going to get on base. You have different qualities to look at, and you would have to give up chips. But you have him for 2 more years. And I believe he's going to be 28 years old next year. This year, his line was 272 average, 11 home runs, 56 RBIs, 705 OPS, elite bat-to-ball profile, 96.1 zone contact rate, 22.7 chase rate, and he has a low whiff rate. His average exit velocity is 86.2. He's the classic table setter. He's team controlled again until 2028. He's if he's another guy you could put at the top of the lineup. So if you want to bat him two, Lindor first, put Soto back in that three spot. You have a nice top three in the lineup. It also lets you keep Nimmo in left field, although I'm not really sure how much you gain. And it's a very payroll friendly contract. You can kind of guarantee Kwan in there as a 4 to 5 WAR player. He's a nice player. He's a very, very nice player. And he's a low budget type player. Okay, so now let's flip to Kwan, right? Obviously, we spoke about some things, so the stability of the floor and the scarcity of his profile. Contact hitters with elite with control, high zone contact, and good plate discipline are rarer than power hitters. From my research, that's the thing right now. So Kwan gives you a reliable on-base foundation in tough pitching slogs. He's less likely to get in slumps. He's less likely, that's always very important. And the run prevention thing that David Stearns has been preaching, this guy is better at run prevention. His power is modest, there's no doubt, but Kwan compensates by producing consistent singles, drawing walks, and avoiding strikeouts. His underlying metrics show his WOBA 347 is strong, while his ex-WOBA is a bit lower, but it still indicates solid expected value. That consistent baseline helps preserve runs total on nights. So synergy with the rest of the lineup. So the Mets would likely have sluggers. If they don't keep Alonso, if they do keep Alonso, they'll have another guy around Alonso. Adding Kwan smooths out the lineup, making it less top heavy. With Kwan in center field, you can ship other pieces around. Kwan is under team control. Again, we've said that. And then also, too, if you don't, let's say the Mets do pull up this trade, that's money that you save on Kwan for the next 2 years, and you can allocate that money towards pitching, or bullpen, or depth. In case of injuries, you're not really heavily mortgaged on a star as you would be on Bellinger. And if let's just say if you think Carson Benj is gonna be a lead in 2 years or come up within the next year or two, this could be, a guy that, hey, if you want to sign him 2 years, you can, but if you can get him on a very fair trade, he's a good stopgap guy, or a little better than that, I don't want to say stopgap guy because people tend to think that those players aren't that great. And then, you got a guy like Harrison Bader, who we saw really have a very strong year, especially when he got traded to Philly. But throughout the year, pretty decent. 17 home runs across 146 games, a 796 OPS, Gold Glove caliber player this year. Philly acquired him at the deadline. He's got a mutual option for 2026. He's a kind of a defense first guy, but as the Mets saw up close, he can really rake. The Mets saw him on the team, and they saw him as well, obviously, across when he played for Philly. That's going to be a little tough. I think it's going to be a little tough. It seems like there's, I don't know, say bad blood, but Harrison Bader, kind of took offense to the Mets really maybe not trying to get him back. Again, that the other, the thing about him compared to the other guys is he's probably going to cost more than Kwan, but he's going to cost less than Bellinger. And it's probably going to be a short contract. His health record is a bit bumpy. But you see his pop. He's had pop as of late. I don't know. It's a very interesting scenario. I think the Mets right now, again, it's going to be run prevention. They're going to have some interesting options. And then also, if you're going to pivot like on a guy like Kwan, and then you're going to have to give up, some of your players that maybe they wanted Jet Williams. And then if you're somebody like me, I'm like, all right, well, Jet Williams profiles similarly to Kwan, maybe not as elite for the Gold Glove yet, but it's in terms of getting a base, in terms of, like they're both the same size, they both high on base guys. I think Jet Williams has a little more pop, but hey, instead of giving my top prospect away for a guy who, is very highly productive, hey, maybe you want to go with one of the kids. Maybe you want to go with Carson Benj. Maybe you want to go with Jet Williams. I don't think that would be your solution early on in center field, but hey, you know what? It's another option, so I want to throw it out there. So, folks, let me know what you think. Like the video, subscribe, and I will talk to everybody very, very soon.